A reader called me goth cowboy mommy one time, and I was like, yeah, that's it.
Hot. I'm so excited to chat about how you write books that feel like sunshine and blue skies. And now with Soul Searching, ghosts.
Ghosts love blue skies too, I think. So
yeah, I just started reading it. I'm like halfway through. Having read your other series, it definitely has that similar cozy feel. And I was nervous because I was like, am I going to be scared? But I'm not scared.
There's like one moment where I'm hoping everybody gets like a little bit of a tingle. A little tingle never hurt nobody.
No, we love the tingles. Before we dive into anything, I feel like we need to set the scene. Place is as much of a character in your books as the humans who are having the conversations. So could you take us on a verbal road trip from Meadowlark to Sweetwater?
Absolutely. So in this fake version of Wyoming that I've created in my head and only exists up there, Sweetwater Peak is about 2 hours north of Meadowlark on a 2-lane highway, only one way in, one way out at the top of a mountain. It's not like a through town that you might see on Route 66. It's truly like in order to get there, you have to be going there. You're never just going to happen upon it. So it is kind of isolated. And I always say that it's where the road ends and the shadows begin, because Sweetwater Peak is like an actual peak that covers most of the town pavilion. There's lots of small businesses. Some are there, some are out of business, like you would see in any other small town. And even though Sweetwater Peak is kind of mystical and fantastical and haunted, I think it's really grounded in reality and what a lot of rural Western towns look like right now.
Some fans will dive into soul searching with the printed book, while others will experience it through the audiobook on Spotify. How do you think listening to the story might shift or deepen a reader's connection to it?
The audiobook's really good, not to brag, but it's absolutely fantastic. And I think an audiobook, whether you're only listening to it or you're doing kind of an immersive read where you're listening and you're following along on the page or on an e-reader, I think it just adds like layers of texture to the story, especially because I have really, really talented narrators in Jason Clark and Samantha Brentmore, who really took these characters and understood what I was trying to do and just absolutely knocked it out of the park. Both of them take their work so seriously and understand my work in such a like deep way that I think this audiobook is just one of the things that I'm the most proud of. I'm so grateful for like the artists that lend their talents to my stories.
Were there any specific scenes you were especially excited or maybe even nervous to hear come to life in the audiobook?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that Samantha was going to knock it out of all of Colin's like internal vulnerability. So I was really excited to hear those, and she did. But I was also, there's, not to brag, but this book's like really funny. So there is like a lot of banter that I was excited to hear, especially because this audiobook is narrated in duet, which adds an entirely new element to my stories that I've never had before. And so getting to hear Collins and Brady banter back and forth makes it feel more cinematic to me. And so that was really, really fun to hear. I've heard rumors that everybody's really loving chapter 24, which is great, which is, it's got a little bit of heat packed in my slowest burn ever. And I loved every second of it. It's so kind of annoying of me to love my audiobooks so much because I listen to them like a reader. I usually get them about a month before the book comes out, and that's what I do to like reacquaint myself with the story before I head out on a tour and talk about this book, because it's obviously like I wrote it a long time ago. And so it's like I also get to rediscover my books via audio, which I love, and I loved listening to it. I think I became proud of soul searching once I heard it back.
Yes, I really like following your process on Threads, where
anytime anybody brings up Threads, I go, oh shoot.
The existential dread pre-pub as the arcs are going out, and then you always come back around though to be really proud, and I think that that's awesome.
The incredibly tumultuous roller coaster that is the hellscape of a brain inside my noggin is a lot of fun.
I was curious. the support systems of your characters are really important in your books, and I assume in your life as well. What does a family gathering look like for the Cartwrights and the Coopers?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think that because the Coopers, it's like a bunch of boys. It would be there, right? Brady has brothers and one older stepsister, and so I think it like a lot of masculine energy that Colin and Clark would like nip in the bud immediately, which I think would be a lot of fun. I think it would be fun to watch them all come together. But I think like Dex and Joni, parents of Collins and Clark, I think they're very warm and vivacious and talkative. And Dex especially reminds me a lot of my dad in the way that when he talks to people, I don't know if he just met them or he's known them for like 20 years, that he just approaches everybody that same way. And so I think anybody would feel welcome at Toads or at the Cartwrights.
Dads, right, are like another theme in your books. And I always love the dads. They're good humans. I'm trying to segue nicely, but really, I just want to talk about the ghosts. Are there ghosts in Rebel Blue? How did we transition from sort of like small town cowboy romance to like that and then like some ghosts?
Yeah, I mean, it felt really natural for me. When I started conceptualizing Sweetwater Peak, I immediately felt like it was a place that I just like happened upon and that it was waiting for me and the ghosts were there and I didn't have to add them or do anything. It was all part of this like weird, tangled little ecosystem. But I am like a firm believer in ghosts. I've watched like way too many episodes of Ghost Adventurers, a lot of ghost hunting in my teen years. And I have always thought there were ghosts at Rebel Blue. And one like very maybe tangible example of that is like, how do we think Teddy and Gus got locked in the closet in Boston last episode? I don't know. So I think they always just have existed for me, like because they exist in the world for me, but Collins and Clark just happen to be the people who can see them.
Since this is a duology, would I assume that book 2 follows Clark?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Do you have any siblings? Like, how do you write twins?
The twins were hard, actually. So I have 2 older brothers. And so a brother-sister relationship is really familiar to me.
Sure.
Sisters are a little bit harder because I don't have a sister. My mom has 5. And so I kind of like dove in a lot to like thinking about the way that my mom interacts with her sisters now that she's grown, my friends that have sisters. And then I am fortunate. This sounds so weird. I'm fortunate enough to know a couple of twins. I like talk to them and like the way they feel and approach like their relationship. And so I had to do a little bit more kind of legwork to make this relationship feel tangible and realistic. Because I do hope that even though it's a paranormal book and a paranormal romance in a way, the root of my stories, I think, is something that is approachable and realistic. So how can I do that when I haven't experienced these things? Did a little bit more legwork on this one.
Well, that brings me to another question I had because so I was a wedding photographer for 15 years. And so as I'm reading books where a photographer is the career of a character, I'm always just a little curious how an author approaches it. And there was a portion where you talked about Collins choosing a wardrobe that did not have a lot of bright colors because she prefers to sort of like fade into the background, which is so true for me as a photographer. And I think for a lot of photographers who like to be behind the lens. Yeah. And I also know that, you know, upholstery is a career that not everybody knows a lot about. So I was curious how you research the careers of your characters.
Yeah, I mean, for Collins, I'm not a photographer. And fun fact, digital photography is the only class I've ever gotten a B in. So,
oh no, how dare they?
Still holding a grudge over that. Like 15 years later. But I don't think it's hard to deduce that Colin's relationship with photography is kind of reflective of what my relationship with writing has looked like in its ebbs and flows and its ups and downs. And so I knew that Collins was going to be in a creative field. And once again, I found a lot of like talented people to talk to about it. But as far as the wardrobe thing goes, that was kind of a thing for my own head, about kind of like fading into the background and wanting to capture things in their truest form, because that's how I feel when I'm writing books. It doesn't always feel like they're coming from me. It kind of feels like I'm observing people, and talking about it. And that's why most my stories so far have been told in first person past tense, because I write the way that I talk, and that's the way that I would orate a story to my friends. So that was a decision. And then for upholstery, my grandfather was an upholsterer, a very talented upholsterer, and he really encouraged my creativity in ways that I don't think he ever knew. And so it also made sense when I was kind of reflecting on and working through this internal struggle with creativity to have Brady mirror somebody who really pushed me to be more creative. Like it just kind of fell into place that way. And all of my books are really a love letter to the people and places that built me. So there's always going to be a little bit of me and the people I love in there.
There's the small town trope of, finding home. Yeah. What makes you feel most at home?
I travel a lot. I was actually talking to my publicist about this the other day. Every time I fly home and it's daytime, I see the mountains out the plane window, I just start sobbing. I don't think I will ever write a story where you can't see mountains out the window. And that's because that's where I feel the most at home. I feel the most at home, like with my feet in the dirt and my head in the clouds. I love to be outside, and any kind of little taste of that I can get is where I feel like home, even when I'm away. But I'm so grateful for my home. I love it so much. And yeah, just the mountains.
So there's a whole note in the back of the book. I didn't read the ending, but I skipped ahead to the author's note and like the playlist section. And since we're here with Spotify, I thought maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the music that inspired the book. You mentioned 4 different playlists that you made to lay a solid foundation for Sweetwater Peak. And could you tell us about them? Are they available?
The Soul Searching playlist is available. There are some playlists that I keep to myself, like the character playlist or like playlists off the town, but the Soul Searching playlist is available. And also there's a playlist that I have that's currently titled Sweetwater Peak #2. I'll retitle it in the next couple of weeks, but it exists. It's there. There are a couple of people. I always like monitor the saves to know who's like finding that thing and getting all these little Easter eggs. But they exist. They're there. But music really informs my process because I like to write atmospherically. I like to write cinematically. And like I said, I generally see the stories while they're happening. And so what music does for me is it helps create a score, basically. Yeah. And so that's how I infuse, different types of emotions or trying to figure out dialogue or setting scene and creating atmosphere. For me, it really comes from like the song that I see playing in the background. So music plays a huge role. I take it probably too seriously with these playlists because I have to be perfect. And I always give myself a deadline. I can't make any changes after pub day because I like it to be like locked in of what I was feeling in that moment, what I thought about the story in that moment, and what I thought was true to the story at that time. But I work on them for a long time, but I love a playlist. And also, it sets the vibe for people like me. Like a playlist is really important. So I'll continue to make them and continue to take them too seriously.
We love a full immersive experience.
Got the books, you got the playlists, you got everything.
You provide a lot for us, and we are so grateful, especially for you offering your time to talk to me and hanging out with Spotify. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we go?
I don't think so. Those were great questions. Thank you so much. I hope you're loving Soul Searching. I'm really proud of it, and thanks for chatting with me about it. Thanks, Rachel.
Yay, we did it. Our first time.
Woohoo!
I wanted to ask you, this is a side note, but I wore my one denim jacket. What do you think these are?
Starfish and octopus.
Literally, it's like a Rorschach test. Anytime I wear it out in public, I'm like, what are these things? I've heard demigorgon.
Oh, that's a good one.
Definitely an ocean monster of some kind.
Yeah, that's definitely not of the natural world. So
It'll be my soul searching denim jacket
Yes.
because we're marrying the small town vibes with the paranormal, whatever this is.
Exactly. Just becoming me. My whole thing is like, so a reader called me goth cowboy mommy one time, and I was like, yeah, that's it.
Hot.
That's the brand.